Civilization 7 is already coming with new information. We've just had new gameplay reveal of Augustus, and we've also had perhaps the most sneakiest reveal that Augustus can morph into Spain in the age of exploration. In the meanwhile, we've also had a chapsuit, and we've also had a new Antiquity livestream as well. So this is my video just discussing the debates. So this is my video discussing the new information that we got for Civilization 7 already. So let's begin. Let me put it like this. Do you like to roam as Imperial Purple SPQR Rome and leading your legions against maybe an ancient African culture? I really do hope that we can fight against Carthage as a civilization in the future. I'm all for it. Heck, I'd love to play as Egypt or Carthage, or maybe even the Seleucids, and dominate against Rome in the first round. I really like the graphic style that's presented here. Romans finally look like proper Romans to me. The combat looks great. Honestly, if it was just ancient combat, I'd just play it forever. It doesn't mean that they look historically accurate, but I really do feel that they are trying for an authentic feel of Rome, so I'll give them hats on that. The power of playing Rome as an antiquity civilization is not to be trifled with. The defining aspects of Civilization 7 will of course be the ages and transitions. So if I was playing Rome, and every time that I play as Rome, I'm always going to be choosing between systems of government versus systems of, let's say, generic governance. So mysticism versus military discipline. And Augustus was one of those leaders that converted the Roman Republic into the Roman Empire, but I think he did it for his own reasons more than anything else, because the Senate at this time had become corrupt. The Senate was becoming a place where people weren't giving much thought to it. They had laws, they had everything, but I think Augustus wanted to consolidate the power, and he obviously would never trust the Senate after they assassinated his uncle, which is Julius Caesar. And again, these defining aspects of a civilization are ages and transitions. This puts me in a paradox. On the one hand, these can be great opportunities to experience epic civilizations throughout their different eras. But if you're playing from, let's say, Romans to Normans to... it does kind of feel weird in a way. It is a great opportunity to experience those civilizations, however, throughout their different eras. However, you can build them up during a typical gameplay session, experience a golden age, and then face a crisis. And I can see that in the stream that the developers have been talking about facing crises, faces about how Rome had to deal with internal revolts, etc. But I understand also why the developers say this isn't just Civ 6, it's a new civilization game. And that obviously there was going to be strong reaction when they announced that you would be changing civilization to civilization. They were expecting it. But here's my question. But does copying Humankind's era-changing civilization work at all? Here's where I'll be critical. If I played a typical gameplay session in the ancient world and didn't want to change history, I wouldn't want other civilizations in that part of the world to change their leaders suddenly just like that. I want the civilization leaders to stay within their boundaries. So if I play Augustus and I play against Hatshepsut, I expect to play against Hatshepsut against the end of time within those geographical constraints, within that era of, let's say, no transition. If I play the exploration era, I play the exploration era. But I don't want to have to keep on fighting against civilizations that have to change leaders all the time. On the other hand, you'll end up with various degrees of perhaps non-historical campaigns. What if I played Rome, became the Normans and met the Mughals before me? But that wouldn't work, and why is that? Because ages matter. If you play in an ancient era, you'll only get to meet that ancient era Civ, which I do like. But if I wanted to change civilizations here and there, if I wanted to change ages and transitions, how would that exactly work? So if I play medieval, I'd play in the medieval era. But I wonder, where's Byzantium? Because Byzantium is an important civilization that I do feel needs to be represented either in the age of, let's say, exploration or maybe in the medieval era. I think missing out the medieval era just doesn't make any sense to me. But let's look at this. I still don't believe that Songhai is a good representation of ancient Egypt. I don't think the two cultures ever interacted much, and any civilization I'm looking to change into is at the developer's discretion or mine. In fact, Nubia would be a better representation to morph into if you're playing as Egypt. So does this mean I'm being super critical? Not really. I think the developers have put in a lot of thought. They have thought what kind of ever-changing civilization matches that other civilization to show that historical progressive path. I think they're doing some good things here, and I get it. But I do feel like modders could perhaps better mod this in a way, one way or the other. And I've seen videos online that they will be confirming modern tools when the time is right. So we will get modern tools in the future. And multiplayer, of course, is going to be interesting because it's going to be a whole bunch of people playing from different civilizations and they'll have different transitions and different ages. So there's going to be narrative events as well, although I don't know how well narrative events would actually fit in the game. I'm being more cautiously optimistic. I'm questioning more about the game because until I get the game, I can't confirm unless as to how I see this game myself. I'm still critical of the ages and transitions, but like I said, I can be critical, but I can also have an open mind at the same time. But just as in real life, let's talk about changing civilization. So, as I say, it would be interesting if changing civilizations in this game led to a visual transformation. So some players are concerned that while you switch from one civilization to another, the architecture immediately changes. And I get that point. Because it would be better to see a visual change or have new architects, new builders refurbish the buildings to match a new civilization. Maybe have some buildings overtake ruins. Maybe have remnants of your old civilization. So let's talk about Rome here. Let's talk about the fact that Rome and its buildings pretty much at that time morphed with nature taking over and nobody really was going and fixing most of these buildings. So if you morph from the Romans to the Normans, don't expect all your buildings to be in tip-top shape condition because that wouldn't make any sense. You just morph into one civilization, all the buildings are in tip-top condition. There should be some sort of visual changes to civilizations and switch in between them. There should be some conditions as to you don't always inherit the civilization's benefits. And this would make more sense, especially in a campaign map. I would really like a flexibility to switch to a different path if you don't want to follow a predetermined one. So if I go from one civilization to the other, I should be able to have it. And the more I try to rebuild my old buildings, it becomes more expensive each and every time I try and do it. There could be a new religious obstacle, a new religious path, a new law, something that I adopt that prevents me from rebuilding the former ruins of a city. And so the game developers often refer to Rome, right, as a civilization faces crisis, but I don't feel that they're really going in depth to it. You don't have, economic instability, you do devaluation of currency. It would be interesting to see if this aspect could be simulated in the game. Now, talk about the Mayans and more. So now we're going to have Augustus. He's going to have Rome's borders via client states, so that means we will be able to perhaps establish client states, have a reorganized army, tax code, which will probably be a tech that you have to pretty much, let's say, research. His unique ability is that he can add production in the capital for every town, so there's always increased gold towards purchasing buildings, and you can purchase cultural buildings in towns. So we definitely get more in terms of economy, in terms of his agenda, Restuto Orbis. That means that he can decrease relationships by medium amounts for towns in each player's empires, and he can increase that relationship by a medium amount for cities. So I think he can definitely do some divide et impera around here. And while he has no starting bias, I think the main aspect is Augustus benefits from strong military and a strong expansionist attitude, and his attribute will be that in that way. But yes, increased gold towards purchasing buildings means that it is obviously cheaper, but you will always have that direct reduction. So even if I build cheaper buildings, it's going to have some sort of repercussion in one way or the other. It could have. So let's say that you boost. Let's say that you do boost. So let's say that you do boost the value of what you're spending instead. That will allow you to perhaps better stack similar bonuses together, right? But I feel that this system could also have a bit of a upkeep, because if you get cheaper buildings, they have to be expensive to maintain as well. Cheaper buildings should not directly mean that it's just cheap to maintain. Cheaper buildings should mean that it is expensive to maintain one way, or that these buildings are cheap to maintain, but you have to keep on spending more and more and more to do it. So think of as Roman insulae, right? Fantastic to build, but they're prone to fires, prone to earthquakes, and I think they could definitely add a bit more. I definitely think that they could add a bit more disbenefit, one way or the other. Finally, I hope that I've covered everything so far. I think we're in for a great time. This game elicits a lot of discussion. And yeah, just stay tuned for more content. Don't forget to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more Civilization 7 content.